G'day team, Matty 231 here with another car video, part 2 today on the 335i. Now, quick update. I've done all the parts on this car already, well in advance. The car's running great. My MacBook Pro that I bought about a year ago conked out, blew up. Not literally, but it'd be funny if it did. But anyway, it was out of warranty by 1 day, so I was so angry. But luckily, Apple fixed it still, regardless of it being a day out of warranty, because obviously it had an issue prior to that where the motherboard basically fried itself somehow. So I lost all my hard drive footage. But thankfully I've found most of the BMW footage I did capture of part 2 and part 3. So we're going to get into that video now, and if you'd like to stay tuned, we're going to get into doing some work in part 2 on the leaking valve cover gaskets, the PCV breather, and a few other little bits and pieces as well. So let's jump straight into part 2. Alright team, let's get into it. We'll lift it up a bit, open the bonnet, and start pulling some of the cowling off the back of the motor here. Fancy new hood light, under bonnet light from Nava. This is actually a run out product, so I got it real cheap. It was like, say, $100 US, and Nava's a really good brand. The newer versions of these are about $600, so stoked to have this. Right, so within 5 minutes team, we've got that cowling out. So we've just got our little mounting points here. And on the other side, we've got our ventilation filter, AC filter, mounted by 4 screws. And we just have these little nodules here on these rubber seals that we need to just move out of the way. And everything out just comes out the side here. Might be better sitting a bit on the paint. So now all we need to do is take this cover off by removing the small Allen key hex screws. And for the cabling here, I'm not as familiar with how to deal with this, whether we leave it in the way, or maybe we'll just pop it out of the carrier here and we'll just use some bungee cords to sort of lift it up. We just don't want to put any undue tension on them if we don't have to. But there should be enough room in there to sort of lift them out of the way, so let's get those out now. Right team, about 20 minutes in, not too hard. We're into the engine bay now, right into it. So we've got all our gear in here. These are our lovely big piezo injectors, all 6 of them. I think they're like $1,000 or like $800 a piece. They're very expensive. But if we look here team, you can see all the lovely oil build up in the middle here of the valley, which commonly indicates a leaking valve cover. So you can see how wet it is. It's even crawling up the base of the valve cover there. You can see it, that sort of wet part. So that's filling right up. I don't like these hoods, like Mercedes hoods, they can tilt right up without having to do anything. Whereas this one I'd have to fiddle around with it apparently to get it actually pointing vertically up. Whereas the older E55, the 600, they're all easy peasy. But anyway, it's all good. It's a nice engine so far to work on. If we look towards the back here, there's our PCV right there. We've actually got a brand new one of those ready to go. But in saying that, I'm not going to bother replacing it unless it needs to be done. So we'll just see what sort of date stamp it has on it. I can't see one straight away. But we've got our, oh actually I haven't shown you guys our parts we've ordered yet, so we need to get that out. If I look at the code on that, there is a sort of date on there. If you see 2105, 08 or 09 maybe. 09, yeah, so it looks like it is the original PCV. So actually we will replace it, team. I'm not going to bother not replacing it. It should be done. But it's not necessarily leaking that I can see at least yet. So that's all good. But yeah, we've definitely got leaks from the back here as well. So if we look down the hole here, and then furthermore, especially in here, you can see it's quite wet down the base there on the outside of the engine, along that metal tray there. So we'll pull all this out. I definitely don't like the exposed wires. It's a bit gnarly looking, but that's fine. We'll make it work. It looks like the wiring harness all comes in through here. So we're going to have to just carefully unclip everything, pull our coils, pull our injector power, pull our vacuum lines, pull our fuel rail. So yeah, there's a little bit to get through actually looking at it. So we'll jump straight into it before we can finally pull the whole cover off and see what's inside, and hopefully it's good. Bit of a spoiler, team. I am quite nervous. The oil leaking on the ground from the car is quite black. It's definitely not clean oil, and I thought the car was relatively recently serviced, but it obviously hasn't been, or it has, but the person who did it hasn't actually done it properly. So I'm reluctant to even like start the car, to be honest, but we will to warm the oil up before we dump it out and replace it. But yeah, it is quite black, so right, team, we got all the coils out, and of course my luck, we've got original coils. Lovely original coils that are now what, 15 years old. So it's like sort of like a wow moment for me. Maybe I'm wrong, Beamer people tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure these coils don't last that long, and this car really doesn't have any misfires I can notice. So yeah, you tell me. But regardless, all original coils. I'm assuming the injectors are original as well. We don't have to take those out though, we just have to undo the high pressure lines and the harnesses to them. So I don't know if I can actually tell. Okay, there are some numbers on there. Are the last two numbers 04? Does that mean they're index 4 injectors? I don't know, I'll Google it quickly. But yeah, let's continue. So we've got the injectors out, well, I shouldn't say the injectors, the fuel rails out to each one, and I think they are individually matched. I think they're similar, some of them, but I believe the ones down the end here might be different. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. And I've just put little bags over the top of the injectors just while they're sort of open to the elements. I'm also just going to chuck one on top of our boost hose, our vacuum or booster. The brake, we'll just remove that line. I just usually chuck a zip tie around them, but that's not going to matter for those ones. They can just sit on there like that. You might not have seen that on camera anyway. So now what we're going to do, team, is just pop the rest of these little wires out for the injectors, and then I believe we can sort of move the whole sort of harness upwards and out of the way So there's just these little ground wires here we're going to disconnect, and obviously making sure the battery's already disconnected, which it is, so that's good. And yeah, we can dig in and get all that pulled out. Yeah, so let's just keep racking on. Right team, we're getting the intake box out of the way while we just keep disassembling everything. Obviously we've taken out the breather hose, which is again original. Of course it's original. It's in actually really good condition, I'm surprised. There's nothing leaking on it. As you can see, it's fine. I've got a brand new one. I'm just going to biff this one. So can someone tell me, how the hell do you take these off without cutting them? I've just cut them to get them off because I'm throwing in the bin anyway. But how do you cut them? Sorry, cut them. How do you unlock them? Do you push down? Because, yeah, you can see at the top there, there's little latches, little hooks at the top there. So maybe you push it in and then it bows it up and you pull it off. But I was trying it and I couldn't figure it out. So anyway, that's rubbish. So intakes. Now this is going to be, in my opinion, our first true look at how well this car has been looked after. Already I think it's been pretty damn well looked after. Like, considering everything's original, it must have been garaged, it must have been driven pretty well, not sat around too much. At least that's what I think. So, okay. So there's the top of our cover, that's obviously all clean under there. The filter looks... One concerning thing is why is there a fly in the actual clean side of the filter? That is actually quite weird. What the hell? How did that get in there? A fly in the clean side of the filter. Lucky you didn't get sucked in there. You wouldn't have done much damage, I imagine, but anyway. So we've obviously got a good quality OEM, I imagine, probably not genuine. Intake filter. Just again, make sure you don't drop any dust or debris in there. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's definitely dirty, but it's not too bad. What year is this one? 2015. So it's definitely due for a replacement. So this is obviously quite an old filter then. And it's a genuine filter. It'll be probably flippin' Marley or one of those Hinks filters or something. But yeah, it's pretty clean. But you can see definitely straight away, team, it's past its use by just the fact that these little grooves here have broken and it's sort of peeling apart. But you know, if this filter's been in there for say 7 years, let's say, it's done pretty well. It's actually pretty bloody clean, so that's good. We'll put that aside with our rubbish. It's done pretty well. What I'll do is I'll just chuck while we're in there, because I'm super yeah, now that's not a good idea either, team, thrashing this around right by the intake. But if we just chuck a bit of something in there, 2 clean microfibers. It's literally only temporarily, because obviously we're going to pull this off in a sec. You just sort of gently pry it off the bottom of that connector there. Cool. Okay, then that's lifted up there, and then I imagine we can do the same at the back to get that back outlet off. What I'm going to do is, the intake's full of like flies and stuff. I'm just going to vacuum it and we're going to pull it out. I just don't want to fling it everywhere. Right, Tim, we've got those that intake off, which is cool. Beautiful, well done, excellent. real hard job. It's always hard when you're doing a new car though for the first time. I've worked on an N52 before. When I owned my last 335i, I was absolutely like clueless on anything mechanical at all. And now it's just like, I wouldn't say natural, but it just feels natural. Like I just sort of naturally can pull things apart and not worry about it too much. This car's definitely all original though, there's no doubt about that. It's just, it's never been touched, which is nice, sort of. I do like cars that have had maintenance done, so this one's a bit disappointing that it's literally still all original in the sense that, you know, stuff's going to start breaking on it because it's old, but is what it is. So we've got our high pressure fuel pump down there, we've got our intake manifold, throttle body, our diverter valves here. So I didn't realise it was positioned horizontally like this, the charge pipe. So this is the charge pipe here. We'll probably end up upgrading this, buying a new one, upgrading it. From what I can tell, this doesn't have a map. I'm sure that, I don't know what that there is, I'm pretty sure they only have a map sensor. So what we're gonna do, team, is you can also see there's a lot of gunk down there. So we're gonna vacuum all that crap up. So for now, team, we're just gonna leave the intake manifold in this part as it is. We're gonna move the whole harness somehow out of the way here. Oh yeah, it's not too bad actually. So we just need to bring it around. We've got this cable here as well at the back here. We're gonna bring the whole thing around that we've disconnected it. Okay, now before we do that, there's also some cables down here. I don't know where those bastards go. It looks like they are going right down there somewhere, so I don't know what we're going to do about them. That's going to be a little bit of a different story, so we'll keep digging. I believe they could be related to the camshaft or Vanos, I think it is, on the front of the engine there, so we might have to get those out of the way, but we'll try and basically lift this out of the way so it gives us room to pull the valve cover off and pull it out of the car there. We also need to remove the actual fuel rail itself, and that's attached down there by these little, you see these little bolts. These are all clipped in beside it, so yeah, there's still actually a little bit of disassembly to go, team. We've got a little bit of work to get through still, so we'll just keep chipping away and making our way through it. We've probably spent an hour and a half so far getting where we are. Again, first time's always the hardest. Give it to me again now and I'd probably do it in an hour and 10, save about 20 minutes. But yeah, it still takes time and you've got to be patient, especially with these as well. You don't want to drag it on, rush too fast because you will end up breaking something. So slow and steady, not too slow though. But yeah, let's continue. Right, Tim, we pulled the fuel rail out. So when we've pulled it out, obviously it's still full of gas. So when you pull it out, try and keep the nozzles facing relatively upwards and just sort of lift the front here. So this is the front of the engine, that's to the back. So just tilting it upwards so you don't spill too much down onto your thing, because if we tip it out here, you'll see it starts pouring out onto my rag here. So I'm just going to tip the rest of this gas into a container, and then I'm probably going to chuck this in a bag, the whole thing in a bag, just to keep any dust out of it. We don't want little bits of dust blocking up the chambers. And make sure you disconnect your fuel pressure sensor at the end of the rail there too. Right team, so we've pulled the front little vacuum line out. This is the back one I still need to pull out. So they attach into these vacuum expansion tanks here. These little suckers, they're literally just empty tanks, it feels like. So that's the bottom, that's the top. The top obviously connects to these little lines here, which go into the actuators that feed the turbo wastegates, I believe. So, as you can see here team, we've got these vacuum hoses here. These are the braided ones, and these ones actually aren't too bad. They're not cracked or broken. They definitely are past their use by, like, you know, I was easily able to sort of like cut through that with my little pick tool just to get the old one off. So they are due for replacement. But here's the exciting part. Here's our parts that we've ordered so far for the 335i. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our, as you can probably guess, we've got new vacuum lines, so we're going to just cut a new piece and pair it with the vacuum hose just so I don't lose track of what's what. But firstly, yes, can you guys guess what that is? It's a brand new genuine part. Really excited to install that. We'll get to that either in this video or another video. We'll also restore the older current one that's on the car. We'll clean that up and restore it. I'll probably sell it. I just need to find the right paint. But yeah, here's our collection of bits and pieces. So we've got our, I've bought the oil cooler, oil filter cover kit from FCP Euro. I'm not necessarily going to use it this round because I can't see any obvious leaking at all on that system, so that's good. There is our, see now I'm not sure if these are actually the intake manifold seals or the spark plug seals. I imagine if they're for the spark plug. Oil filter and the oil change on it. We've got our, and I also bought this PCV valve, so VTT N55 graded billet PCV valve. I'm surprised they just screw onto the end of the valve cover. It's quite random seeing that. And we've got a new breather hose, genuine BMW breather hose, and we've got our vacuum hose here. We've got 2 lots of braided vacuum hose. I probably screwed up. I probably should have ordered a bigger roll, like a 5-meter roll, but never mind. And we've got our new air filter too, so we'll chuck that in. I've also got some new T connectors for the vacuum system, but I might not touch the turbo vacuum side yet. We'll just see how we go time-wise. New valve cover gasket, new bolts for the oil filter housing, and engine coil line O-rings. Oh yeah, those there, cool. So, you know, like, we can put all that back for now. We don't need that. We don't need our lovely new steering wheel cover just yet. We'll get the car working first. We'll just keep out the parts we need,
which is all of that stuff there, and I think those there. So if we start with the vacuum line team, I'm just gonna literally just gonna measure it, you know, roughly that length, and just nip it off here and put it alongside. I can tell you straight away, this new vacuum hose is a lot more like flexible and bendy. Like, look at that. Whereas this stuff is, yeah, it is getting there. Like, if you bend it hard enough, you'll probably crack it. Cool, so let's cut that out. Right team, so we've pulled out that vacuum line as I just showed you. We've cut the new piece of hose for it, paired it with the right tank, and also the bolt that mounts it here. So now we're pulling out the two 10 mils that hold this vacuum system in place here. So we're going to pop this top one off, then we're going to cut the bottom one, feed this out the top here again, and then we're going to do the exact same for this one, right? So now also what we've done, we've disconnected that front sensor there, which I don't know what it is, sorry, I'm assuming it's a Vanos or maybe a camshaft sensor or something. And then what we're going to do is, as you can see, I've used some zip ties to give a bit of play, but just to lift the harness up off the valve body. And over here we've got enough room now. So pretty much once we've done this and taken this vacuum hose out, we're ready to pull the whole valve cover off. Now I was going to also spray some compressed air. I think I will actually. I think I'll spray some compressed air just into the spark plug tubes, just to clear out any dust and just to make sure there's nothing that's going to fall into the engine. But you know, obviously you want to make sure you keep things like screwdrivers and bolts and anything that shouldn't be lying around out of the way, so nothing falls in accidentally and you miss it. Yeah, so we'll pull this out. I think on a video I was watching by I can't remember his name, sorry, but he does a 5-minute valve cover video on YouTube. He moves apparently the expansion tank out of the way, and I assume it's just these two bolts here. Obviously when we do that team, we just want to be careful we don't kink any of this hose, because this hose here, this is the hose in my last 335i that cracked when I was up in the city driving and it started smoking. So I'm probably going to replace this hose just preventatively, but to be honest, it's just two rubber hoses, hose clamped onto this here. So you probably actually don't even need to buy a genuine hose really. You could just buy the middle piece here and cut it and fit it. Yep, let's go. So I've undone all the bolts team on the valve cover here. There's quite a few. There's probably like 20 maybe all up. So just make sure you get them all. I'm pretty confident I've got all of mine. And obviously you've loosened them up and you've also zipped them up as well, so they're not like still attached to the body of the car. So we just want to gently loosen this cover without breaking anything. So what I normally do is I'll get a mallet. And I'll just give everything a little tap. And saying that, because it's plastic, I'm a little more reluctant to give it much of a tap. It's probably better to actually pry it. Just looking at it, so if you've got a pry bar, a pry bar like this, there's probably a place we can pry it from gently, but when we pry it we don't really want to oh yeah, I see, okay. When we pry it we don't really want to give it, we just want to be very gentle with it, because we don't want to yeah, we don't want to crack anything. So just need to be methodical about how we go about it. anyone out there know the best way to do it? Obviously it's going to be a little too late for me, but yeah, no, I don't want to push it onto the mating surfaces because I don't want to sort of damage the base where it connects. Yeah. Right, team valve covers off. It was a little bit of a pain in the ass to get out. Mainly I think because of the harness, but also a lot of the old gasket was sort of sticking to the actual, like keeping it stuck to the actual head. So that was a bit of a pain. But yeah, there's quite a lot of build up around the sealing surface, and I think like everyone we check on YouTube, everyone's gasket's the same. It's basically just like cracked plastic. This one's probably not terrible. Well, no, it is terrible because it's leaking, but it's not like, yeah, look at that. But it's not necessarily full hard plastic just yet, but it will be not too far from it. So now what we're gonna do is just get rid of all the old gasket around the corner here. Just peeling it up. I'm trying to ideally have no residue left on the head so I don't have to get in there and get grunty with it. But just trying to get as much of it off as we can before we brake clean that surface, and then start looking at the next steps from there, which is likely going to be fitting the new one. So I'm just working my way around there. Yeah. There we go. Just using my finger to just work my way around. Now, we do need to pull out. So just while you're in there, team, just make sure you don't leave any pieces of the gasket in there either. So you just want to make sure. Yes, I need to do this off camera because you don't want to drop bits like this in there and have them get caught up in the valve train. So just go around, don't mar the surface of the head, just use a even like this, I've got my other one somewhere, just like a little soft tip at the end. It's still metal, but don't try and scrape against the metal, scrape against the rubber seal and pull those off. Right, team, while the valve cover dries off and the glue for the gasket on the valve cover dries, we'll just quickly clean around the edge of the valve train of the head, just so that the mating surfaces are nice and clean, ready for us to put the valve cover back on. So there's all this little bit of build up here. You can see where I've also wiped some of the varnishing off the tops of the caps there. That's not really relevant, but I might just do a little bit more while we're at it. Just make sure it's super clean, team. You don't want any oil residues left on the surfaces when you put that head back on, so it's really key. Otherwise we're going to have another leak, and this, quite frankly, this is a bastard to get to. So, you know, look at the mess. So you don't want to have to come back in here, so just take your time and do it properly. Right, team, bottom of the engine's off. I'm just trying to trace basically the what do you call it, the vacuum line for the turbocharger, just to find out where that's coming from. So we've got our oil from the engine running all the way down here to the bottom of the transmission. The transmission pan's a little damp, and there's a little bit of weepage up there. So yeah, I'm going to assume the pan seal's also a bit bad, but it's not too bad. But yeah, it definitely is actually starting to leak, so this is going to need a oil pan job at some point, which is fine. But for now, it's not leaking real bad. The main culprit is our what you call it up here. So we're sorting that now anyway. How the hell do you get the vacuum line for those turbos? It must be a major. I can barely even see or fit anything in this mess of wires. This is like worse than the V12. Let's just keep working. I'll probably leave the vacuum hose if it's this much of a bitch to get to. You can see it up there actually. It's got the white thing on it, and it comes down. Oh, where is it? Yeah, it obviously comes down. Oh, I see. You can see it right there. On the wastegate. No, of course you can't, because this phone's useless. Just on top of the cat there's the actual the actuator right there, and the hose goes in there. Yeah, I can see that being a bit of a pain to get at. We'd have to remove the exhaust, the downpipes here. And even removing the downpipes, you've got to really, yeah, are there V-bands on them? Not that I can see. As you can see, Tim, I've got no clue actually about this car, really, about the mechanics of it compared to the other cars I've worked with. But we're going to leave that for now. The vacuum hose isn't bad. I was just thinking if it's easy enough to do, we'll just do it. But we'll probably end up doing it when we do the oil pan gasket. So that's fine. We'll just leave that for now. At least we've had a look underneath and we know what we're dealing with. So let's just continue getting ready to install our valve cover again. Everything's in place, ready to go. I've glued parts of it down, which I think is necessary. I thought originally that seems a bit silly, but I can just guarantee you that the gasket will start to sort of sag out of the bottom when we install it. So yep, let's go. A little bit of learning for me. So we've pulled the PCV valve out. We've got a brand new billet PCV valve VTT that was about $50 on FCP Euro. This is the factory one. Now, because it's got this 23mm collar on it, I thought you'd screw it out. And I couldn't figure out how I couldn't turn it. And I was going to go and buy a socket specifically for this, but I realized after watching some other videos on YouTube, even while it's got a thread here, it's not actually necessarily threaded in internally, so you don't have to pull it out. You literally just want to put something like a drill bit or a little stick in the existing hole here, and then use your needle nose pliers and just gently wiggle it until you can pull it out. Right, so that's easy. It's good to know. So we've got our brand new one here, upgraded one. So the factory one actually works pretty well. Again, it's the original one from what I can see, as usual. The whole car is pretty much original, which is fine, but I still like something not... I'd like to have seen some stuff replaced on it already. I assume it's had spark plugs done and stuff. But yeah, so we install it like this, and then we fit it back in with the green O-ring that's in my hand right now. And I'm just going to put, like I did with when I rebuild the V12 S-Class, just chuck a bit of little Vaseline on here and reseat it back in the hole and then twist it in. So team, day after, we wrapped it up just in that last clip on torquing these bolts down. So I've torqued everything down. I might even just quickly do one more double check just to make sure. Everything's been torqued down to 8.5 Newton meters thereabouts. So now what we're doing is just basically starting the same process in reverse. So we're reverse installing everything and getting everything all finished off. So first what we're going to do is just reroute our cables. Some of the cables here, like the O2 sensors and stuff, they all wrap around the back of the engine here. So we're just going to get them around the back again and coming through here. Then what we're going to do is get the, I've pulled the vac lines for the back turbo, and they're actually fine, but there are little metal retaining clips that hold them in place, and where the retaining clips are, the pipe is slightly like compressed, right? So I'm not going to worry about it right now, but we will definitely at some point be doing the vacuum lines to the turbos, and I think we'll do that when we have we'll probably have to, by the looks of it, you have to remove the cats. I'm not sure if any of you guys know, but I'm not familiar with that job, but I think you've got to take the cats off to get enough access to that wastegate on that rear turbo. So we're not going to worry about those right now. The car still feels like it's got full boost, so I can't see it being an immediate issue. But yeah, we're just going to reroute that back through there and continue to reassemble. So rather than bore you guys showing me putting the vacuum hose exactly where it was, we're going to keep things interesting and just skip to us having the majority of this hose back in place so we can continue on with the video. So we're just going to get that harness back in place, and also we'll start getting the coolant tank back in and rerouting the hoses and things like that. Right team, so we've got our electrics back in, so we've got our ground wires on and torqued lightly down by hand. We've got our plugs here wired back nicely into the front of the engine. So just down there. Actually, have I done that? I don't actually think I have. Oh no, I have yet. See, there's a little clip down there. You can just see it just there. So we just routed those through there so it all ties in with where it should be. Yeah, we've got our plug back on there. Now the back of the engine team, we've got this sort of hose here, which seems to link up to the front oil pressure sensor, and I imagine maybe an oil temp sensor that's routed on the back of the valve cover. There's like a clip that it locks into. The O2 sensors here, they also sit just, so there's some grooves on the back of the valve cover. They sit in first, and then this, you can just see where it clips in here. Just there, yeah, you can see it. It just clips in there and then routes around the back. So everything sort of has a position. It's not just sort of just laying around there. It's all anchored in nicely to the engine. So we can now put the fuel rail back in, but just before we do that, we need to reattach our vacuum system. So we need to get our tanks here, yeah, and reinstall these, right? So I'm just going to give them a quick wipe, a quick brush, quick wipe, and then we're going to refit this tank, and we're going to route the hose, the vacuum hose, back over the top here, underneath this, through this little channel here, and also then hook them up to the two outputs there. And I forgot which one goes where, but I don't actually think it matters, to be honest. They're independent, I think, so that's fine. So yeah, we're going to do that now. and then we'll put the fuel rail back in, and then we're making good progress. Right, so we've got the fuel rail back in. Not too difficult. Fuel rail first, put your 4 bolts in, black bolts, mounted down here. There's 2 here and 2 at the back. Just gently do up your fuel rail connected with a 17mm, and then just snug it once you've tightened the fuel rail down and get it in properly. Then you're basically just snaking your oil sensors and stuff. I imagine coolant temperature sensor as well down there. I might be wrong, but I think that's what it is. Into these little clips that are mounted here on the bracket. Now, when you do pull these clips out, team, I don't know if I said it before when we were videoing it, but you sort of get a pick under here and you sort of lift the little hook up gently, and then you can pop it and swing it around. Don't try and pry anything from the back here, it won't undo that way, right? So now that that's done, we are looking even better. We just need to get our actual fuel rail lines put back in. So we've got them over here ready to go. I believe it was this way when I set it up, so this will be number 1. So it's just going to go on like that. Oh no, wait, or is it this way? Other way, sorry. Yeah, that's it. It's going to go on like that, and then back onto the top of the fuel injector there. So we're just going to remove the little covers and nestle those back on. I might just give them a quick blast with the throttle body cleaner, just to clean them quickly, just to make sure they're free of any contaminant. And then yeah, install those back on. We've also got our PCV valve, team. We're going to put that back on too. Where are we? So we've got our new PCV here. I didn't use these in the end. I think those are for the intake manifold. So we've got our genuine PCV pipe, sorry, not valve. And literally we're just going to snap it onto that back hose there and plug it in here on the intake manifold. But I'm going to just do that once I've got sort of everything in place, just so I don't have to pull that off, because it is a bitch to get off. But yeah, it's all pretty simple, team. Like, the motor looked complicated, but it is pretty straightforward. You know, you got your vacuum supply here, 2 vacuum lines go down here, go into these 2 tanks, and these go into 2 sort of standard vacuum hoses into these, I guess you could say, actuators that actuate and allow the vacuum to travel through to each turbocharger's wastegate. So, you know, it's pretty simple. It looks complicated, but it's not that bad. And your diverter valves, obviously, they've got their own hose here. So you've got them going there. and then they literally just merge into one and go back into the intake manifold. So that's nice and simple, obviously. Yeah, the vacuum hoses aren't too bad on this car. They're definitely not hard and brittle, but regardless, our new ones look good. Our new braided hoses look good. So yep, away we go. Let's continue getting those two bits back on, and then we're literally nearly there, team. This reassembly process has been so far like an hour. It's not that long at all. So yeah, we're making good progress on the return, and then we can get this thing started up and get the oil warmed up a bit, and then we're going to dump it and refill it with brand new Castrol Edge 5W40 Long Life 01 BMW approved oil. Right, look at that, team, beautiful, nice and clean, all put back together again. I dropped actually a little bit of my zip tie from my injectors in there. Sounds like there's a helicopter outside my shed. Oh, I got it. Yes, I got it. Cool. Rubbish on the floor, you just throw everything out when you when you're reassembling. Cool, team, just check everything's tight, good. Make sure our grounds are tight, obviously that's quite important. Our harness is there, vacuum lines are in, our little clips in there. This is looking smart, everything's good. Everything's plugged back in again. Our fuel rail, don't forget that, the pressure regulator, I imagine that is the rail there, that's in. Our PCVs and our brand new, clean, brand new, genuine ones in, and it's clicked in as well. Make sure it clicks in properly. So everything's back together. All we have to do now is just reassemble our intakes, our air intake system, and we're good to go. Literally good to go. So yeah, let's just get onto that now and get that all put away, and yeah, get into our servicing. Let's put our new air intake in, team. Our new OEM Marley filter. Oh, okay, here it is. Yeah, see, nice and fresh. Definitely cleaner than the one that was in there. And yeah, this one's barely a year old from manufacture back in 2022. So everything's clear. Obviously make sure you've got nothing in these tubes here. They're all free of anything you've blocked them with. Don't want to start the car when you've got stuff still in there. And yeah, we just want to sort of fold it in there like that. Now we are actually going to put dual cone intakes in very soon, but just for the meantime, and just for the sake of having a nice filter, we're just going to install this just because it's cheap enough. Why not? Cool. Put our genuine BMW cover on top. Now I'm just going to brush some of this crap off. Cool. Now it should effortlessly close, so just make sure you do everything lined up properly. You shouldn't have to force it too much. Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Intake's installed, team. Right team, now that we've got those covers on, we're ready to do the oil change, and then we'll finally put the cowling back in. But as you can see here, we just need to clean this up a little bit. There's a bit of a mess. Right team, we've got everything plugged in terms of the batteries all ready to go. We've got all our lines plugged in, our power connectors plugged in, vacuum hoses in. Yeah, so I think we're pretty much good to start her up. Yeah, so we've got the key in the car, I think, here. No. Yeah. So we're just going to warm her up enough to get the oil flowing and warmed up just a little bit, so we can dump it and swap it with the fresh new oil. So don't know what that means, but push BC, isn't it? No, can't remember. It likes just beeping, doesn't it? So everything's all clear out of the way. Yep. Oh, actually, I'm just going to double check because I really don't like guessing some things. Just making sure we got nothing, no towels down here. No, good. Free of moving parts. Cool. Yep, we're good to go. It'll probably take a little while to crank because there'll be no fuel pressure in the rail. There we go. Cool. Running well, running smooth, which is good. I don't know if this active steering light just means that it needs to be recalibrated. Oh yeah, there we go, perfect. Nice. Running very smoothly, so that's good. So we're just going to let it warm up briefly, and then we're going to dump that fluid out of it. Because this fluid is not good, what's in it. I really don't like it. I really don't like it. So we've got our brand new Castrol oil here, team. Nice. I'm glad though, so far it's so good. So we'll just grab our just grab the correct cup, which is this bigger oil cup here. I think it's this is the one from my wife's N52 on her 130i she used to have, so it should, it's not perfect, but we'll try it. Just be gentle with it. Yeah, okay. And we're also going to do, as I said, team the active steering, so we're going to take this off and flush some of that out where we can. Right, team, we'll just crack off the oil filter housing gently. And we'll just open up the oil cap as well. You've just got to like push down on the cover just to make sure you don't damage the actual engine cover. It's quite hard to get it the right way around. There we go. Maybe. Yeah, so you got to get it around a few times. So I'll just do that quickly. We'll take the cover, open the oil cap, loosen up the oil thing on the top there, then we'll jack her up and dump the fluid. Right, team, I think we're done down here. We've cleaned up the engine bay a little bit. Underneath here, we've just cleaned these rubber hoses and protected them. Clean this hose here. A lot of them I don't even know what they do, to be honest. Looks like there's a bit of steering line stuff here. We've got oil cooler here. Obviously our plastic pipes for the charge air system. We've also just cleaned up the cats because these had quite a bit of oil on them. In fact, that one still has actually quite a bit on it. I might just give it one more spray with the brake cleaner. But yeah, just trying to clean up as much gunk off that's leaked down as possible. You'll see here, clean the subframe rail up. It's not mint obviously, but it's a lot better than it was, so that's the main thing. So we're going to chuck the tray back on the bottom and drop her down, put the fresh oil in. Right, team, she's done. All finished, all put back together. Oil's in, ready to start up. Great. I'm not going to do the power steering just yet because the fluid I have doesn't have the proper approval on it, even though it still is in theory the same fluid. I just don't want to risk it. So yeah, we're going to drop her down and go for a drive and hope that nothing leaks. I think we're good though. I think we're good to go. So let's drop that hood back down. Everything's done, yeah. yeah, everything's good. Nice. Took a little while. It's definitely a big job doing those valve covers, but it's not a hard job, but it's just quite a laborious job, you know, with all the stuff you've got to do. Perfect. She's back on the floor again. So, this car's so low, eh? Far out. I could barely fit the stuff on this car. Barely fit the pads underneath. So what we're going to do now, team, is I'm just going to roll it out, check the fluid, and then let's cut to going for a drive. Right, team, just a quick cutaway, as I say. Looking at the oil filter on the 335 on the N54. The oil was really clean. I was worried, I was just a bit concerned. I was like, because the oil was real black. Sorry, it wasn't clean, it was really black, but it was clean in the sense that it didn't have much debris in there. Well, it actually had none. Like my two V8s and the V12 have more little minor particles in them when I do oil changes on them. So the oil was actually clean, it was just really black. But yeah, this filter's clean, mate. This engine's very clean, actually. Like, there's literally nothing I can see in this filter that's been captured by the motor, by the oil filter, that would indicate any sort of engine wear as such. No bearing material or anything. So I think that's safe to say that that N54 is clean and running well. I think one of the injectors is a bit noisy, but other than that, it's real good. So yeah, happy days.